Hello and welcome to the Cloud Therapist Shorts. I'm Richard Simon. I am reporting to you from the Open Source Summit in Vienna. Okay, so I'm here with Liz Rice. Liz is the Chief Open Source Officer with Isovalent at Cisco. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Hi.
It's actually much better seeing you in person because we were probably gonna do like a Zoom or something at some point.
But it's better to do things in person.
Exactly, yeah, and it's actually quite refreshing to do that. So we're actually at the Open Source Summit in Vienna. Liz has just done her Meet the Experts, and obviously she's the expert. So I was just going to ask you, how did that go?
Well, I think I met a few other experts while I was here.
As well, there's quite a few around the table, actually. There were really good talks as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of really smart people here. So for example, Michael Kerisk, who's well known for sort of Linux book and manual pages, so it was great to meet him here. There were people who'd been to my talk yesterday and had like some follow-up questions, and one person who had actually been at eBPF Summit, Reinhard Kugler, who'd done a talk about using eBPF in automotive, so we had quite a good conversation about that as well. And a few people with interesting questions about how to deploy eBPF and some of the interesting challenges around what happens if you have multiple eBPF tools. So I think we had a good conversation.
Yeah, and I got good feedback on our panel as well from Monday, which was quite good. Somebody actually stopped me in the corridor somewhere and said, "Oh, I really enjoyed that." I was like, "Yeah, I was just the moderator, but yeah, it was good." Okay, so what kind of in terms of sort of eBPF and kind of sticking to that for just a few minutes, what's kind of some of the use cases that you're seeing now? I mean, we probably saw a few around, on the table at the Meet the Experts. Mm-hmm. But what others are you kind of aware of as well?
Yeah, I mean, at a broad level, we talk about eBPF being great for networking, for security, for observability, and really anything where the kernel is involved, which is pretty much. I mean, all user applications are going to need to ask the kernel to help them with file access or networking or memory or privileges. So eBPF allows us to be more bespoke in all those areas. And so, for example, with Cilium, we can build very efficient Kubernetes networking. We can use Tetragon to build very efficient security tooling. There are loads of interesting observability and profiling tools out there, like we heard from Frederick from Polar Signals earlier this week. There's all these, applications or use cases where we really want to understand how a system is behaving underneath the applications, and that's where eBPF is really, really powerful.
Cool. So you mentioned Cilium. That's obviously Isovalent's sort of flagship solution. So can you give us a little bit more about Cilium itself?
Sure, yeah. So Cilium is really best known for Kubernetes networking. You can also use it for container networking and actually networking beyond the Kubernetes environment. So we're now seeing a lot of use cases where people have multi-cluster deployments, they have multi-cloud deployments, they're connecting their Kubernetes applications to what we might slightly rudely call legacy systems. So, the
heritage.
Heritage, there we go.
I think that's the word you're looking for.
Yeah, the sort of non-cloud native but super important services that are still out there that may be running on-prem. And now with Cilium, we're able to sort of mesh all these different environments together. And the idea is really that from an application developer's point of view, they shouldn't really have to care where these services are operating. They shouldn't really have to know about or worry about whether it's multi-cloud or what region things are operating in, and the networking layer should take care of all that for you, and that's really a big part of the philosophy of Cilium.
Right, and is that sort of whole space and potentially including Cilium sort of really aimed more at the sort of user applications and where we can use that for, obviously Cilium's around networking, but there's obviously security, there's observability as well, which is all part of that sort of eBPF ecosystem. But are those applications mainly aimed at this sort of the user point of view, and not necessarily, let's say, like an antivirus agent or like a phishing attack agent, that type of security type agent. What's your kind of take on that?
So I think a lot of what we're talking about here are infrastructure tools, and the user is not typically the kind of customer in a sort of B2C type relationship. It's usually going to be a platform team or a security team, the people within an organization who are trying to make life easy for the developers in their organizations. So the people who are building business applications typically, don't need to get involved in all the sort of details of how networking is structured in their organization. They want that to be a common capability of the environment that they're writing their applications in. So for something like Cilium, we'll be working with platform teams who've got this network infrastructure they need to build out. They need to know how they're going to deploy in multiple different clouds, or connecting their heritage applications and so on, to make life easy for their developers. I think the same would be true for security teams. So with something like Tetragon, where the security team has, certain requirements, they have certain things that they want to protect against, and they want to be able to do that in a common fashion for all of their application teams. And that's one of the really nice things about eBPF, because it's running in the kernel. If you're running that tooling on every machine, all your machines are kind of able to provide the same infrastructure, provide the same security, provide the same observability tools without having to instrument each individual application individually. You get that kind of common platform.
Okay, so we've kind of had 2 or 3 days at the conference so far. What's kind of been your take, and what kind of topics and themes have you picked up on?
Yeah, so I think OSS Summit is always a really interesting mix of almost the sort of philosophical things around, what is open source, how do enterprises use open source, the kind of OSPO kind of folks, right down to the nuts and bolts, the kernel developers here talking about really low-level aspects of how the kernel's behaving and going to be improved. So it's much less user-oriented than a conference like KubeCon. So there are fewer end-user organisations, I would say, here, but there are lots of builders and people who make this ecosystem vibrant and successful.
Yes, it's a lot more kind of a hardcore sort of focus, I guess, on Linux. And obviously, Linus Torvalds was here to do his usual sort of keynote as well. So that was quite interesting. Okay. So Isovalent's now been part of Cisco for almost a year. Give her a take. Yeah.
Into the actual, day-to-day business of being, everything being completed.
Right. So the question was, how's it going so far? What's kind of been the interaction with Cisco for you?
Yeah, I mean, we're really enjoying being part of Cisco. Personally, I don't think there could have been a better sort of strategic alignment in terms of a company that wants Isovalent to carry on doing the investment in open source, the investment in eBPF. There are some really nice, I hate the word synergy, but I'm going to have to say, there's a lot of good alignment, a good alignment between the capabilities that Isovalent's bringing and some of the existing products that Cisco have. So we're really, looking forward to the future. We're excited to be part of. We're already, Tetragon's being used as part of Hypershield, which is Cisco's new security product. Really exciting. So the future is bright for our team, I think.
Fantastic. And it was certainly one of the things when I was, I think I told you, I was speaking to one of my friends at Cisco before the acquisition, and I said to them, you should really look at Isovalent as your next acquisition. And I was right. I was proven right. So there you go. Fantastic. Well, I really appreciate your time. It's been great to actually sit down with you on the Meet the Experts today and, do the panel and everything else, actually have you around. So, yeah, appreciate your time. Thanks very much.
Hosting the panel. Yeah, appreciate it.
Thanks, guys, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now. Well, that's about it from the Open Source Summit. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.